Hello, my name is Tamara Goldbogen, and I am with the Arts Learning Collaborative, where we support high-quality arts learning experiences at Weber State University and across the state of Utah. In this video, Erin Roundy is going to walk you through some easy steps for completing a visual arts project. You can check out our website at weber.edu/artslearning, where you can find more videos like these and other resources to help you bring the arts into your classroom. Please feel free to share this with your friends and colleagues.
Welcome. Our lesson today is titled Faux Stained Glass Art. The objective of this lesson is to use non-traditional materials to create a faux stained glass panel, with the final product being something like this, a faux stained glass Utah bird design. Let's get started with part 3 of our faux stained glass project. Don't forget to watch part 2 before moving on to this video. If you remember my photo reference, I've taken a look at the colors that a broad-tailed hummingbird uses in the patterns on its wings and in the beak color. Remember, I wanted to use those flowers. After looking at those, I've chosen the following colors to use to color in my design once my liquid letting is completely dry. So you don't need to get super specific on this as long as you can come up with a bit of a plan to help you execute which colors you're going to use in what places on your design. And I'm going to use colored pencils, which I've already gone ahead and looked through my color pencil selection and chosen colors to correspond with the colors that I have here in the gallery glass paint. I'm going to show you a color chart that I created to help me know which of my colored pencils correspond with which gallery glass paint. And then I will show you how I apply that to my template to help me create a color guide. So when I go to use my gallery glass paint on my plexi with my bird design, I'll know which ones to use. So here I've created a color chart. In these little boxes here, which I have put enough boxes to correspond with the number of gallery glass paints I have available, I have taken corresponding colors and I have colored them in with my colored pencil, writing down below the name of the colored pencil that I can find on the body of the pencil. So this right here says turquoise. I colored in turquoise, and it's going to correspond with this particular color of gallery glass, which is called Bluebird. The names of the colors can be found on the back side. I continue to do this with all of my colors, which I believe I have 21 colors. Again, coloring with my colored pencil in the boxes, labeling the name of the color pencil underneath, and then matching it with one of the gallery glass colors. Once I have done this and completed this, I can move my gallery glass paint to the side. I'm going to keep my colored pencils out, and I'm going to grab my template that I've been using to trace, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to create a colored version so I know what my final piece can potentially look like. All right, here you can see my completed colored version using my colored pencils and using my color chart. I have gone ahead and colored in my template. So now I know what colors I am going to use when I actually start working on my plexiglass. This gives you a good idea of what the final is going to look like. So having this with me will also help me to make sure that I don't mess up at all as well. So I'm going to put my colored pencils away, and I'm going to grab my plexiglass that has my liquid letting that has sat flat for 24 hours, and I'm actually going to place it directly on top, and I'm going to line it up. It may not be 100% perfect to line up, but at least I can get it close enough so I know what I'm looking at. I'm going to take a couple pieces of clear tape and secure the plexi to my template, making sure that I'm placing it in the clear border area so it won't get in the way. Now I can start working. Again, with the liquid letting that I suggested earlier, I told you to work from the inside out. I would recommend doing that as well here. just because you want to watch your hand and your arm from getting it into any paint. And so it's a lot easier if you can work inside out. Another thing that is also good to know is that you want to make sure that you're not pressing hard on the liquid letting lines. Yes, they are dry. Like if I touch them, they're dry, they're not wet at all. However, you just want to be careful that you don't put too much pressure that you might flatten them out. So just be extra careful as you are working with this. I need to show you some things about using gallery glass, and a lot of this information may sound a little bit familiar as when I was talking about liquid letting. You're going to need the following as you work: a paper towel and some baby wipes, some Q-tips, and you're also going to need some toothpicks. So I'm going to place those up there. All right, so gallery glass paint is basically colored glue, if you want to think about it that way. It comes with a lid that you can easily pop off, and it has a nozzle on the top, similar to the nozzle that you saw on the the liquid letting. It's a lot smaller and thinner. You do not want to shake the paint as that will create air bubbles that you don't want to have to deal with. So no need to shake it before using it at all. Depending on the bottle and how full it is, sometimes when you remove the lid off of it, sometimes the paint will, even if you're not even squeezing, will start to come out of the bottle. So be aware of that just in case it does do that. This one is not, so that's a good thing. You'll notice too that some bottles, if you even turn it upside down, will start to leak out because this particular paint is a lot thinner in comparison to the liquid letting. So where maybe your hand and your wrist kind of hurt when you were squeezing the bottle of the liquid letting, you won't have that same problem with the gallery glass because the glue inside of this is a lot thinner and flows a lot easier. So in showing you this example, holding this gallery glass bottle upside down, this paint isn't running out, but I just want you to be mindful that sometimes you'll find in certain bottles or certain colors, those colors just want to come out of the bottle, even if you're not holding it upside down. So with this nozzle, this is going to allow you to quote unquote paint, but you also do not want to paint directly onto the surface of the plexiglass. What I mean by that is you want to keep it raised. You do not want to drag it across and have it hit the surface of the plexiglass. You want to keep it raised above, similar again to the liquid letting. Depending on the bottle, some need a little more squeezing than others, but again, you'll find that the paint comes out, it flows a lot easier than it does with the liquid letting. As you're going along, let me demonstrate to you how we're going to fill in these sections. I want to look back at my chart because I'm going to work from the inside out like I have recommended to you. And so I'm going to start in this area because this color that I've done here corresponds with yellow-green. My colored pencil, and yellow-green means I use the lime green. And here you can see on the back of the bottle, it says lime green. So I want you to imagine that all these little shapes that are created by the liquid letting are like little tiny swimming pools, and you need to fill them up with water. But in this case, we're going to fill them up with gallery glass paint. And the easiest way to do this is to actually fill in the perimeter of the shape and then go ahead and fill in the inside of it. You want to make sure that the paint stays inside the swimming pool and does not spill over into other little swimming pools around it. This does take some practice because you've got to learn how to control how much pressure, how much squeezing you give the bottle. And again, some of these bottles, the paint comes out a lot faster than others. I am barely squeezing the bottle and you can just see that paint coming right on out. So I need to be very careful so that I don't squeeze too hard. So you can see I'm following the liquid letting line, filling in the outside. Even though this paint flows a lot faster than the liquid letting, it doesn't spread out super quickly. And so sometimes you'll notice that you might have to come back and fill in little areas to fill in little gaps like that, little holes that maybe you have missed. You want to get those holes because you want to fill them up with color. All right. So I've filled in the section of this little swimming pool with my color. And then I can go in now carefully filling in. I am not touching the surface of the plexiglass. I'm doing this back and forth motion. There's all kinds of ways to do it, but to fill it up. Looking at this one, I can see that I used my lime green color pencil, which tells me I should be using my fresh lime gallery glass paint. Again, be careful taking off your lid, as sometimes the paint, you can actually, I don't know if you can see it, but my paint's already starting to come out and I'm not squeezing the bottle. You may also notice that there's a little bit of buildup of paint that does happen, and you can take a paper towel, you can use your fingers just to kind of clean off that, because that buildup will get in the way. All right, this is my little swimming pool. I'm going to fill up this time. Remember, I don't want to drag the nozzle against the plexi. I want to raise it, and I'm following around the outside of the shape, just like that. Oh, look at right there. I have a little air bubble right there. I can take the nozzle, and without squeezing, I can try popping it like that, which seems to have taken care of it. So that's good. So that nozzle can come in handy for popping. Now I'm just going to come around. Sometimes depending on the size of the shape, kind of dictates how I like to fill it up. So right there, nicely put in, but not so thick that it's spilling over, but I have filled it up. Okay. All right. I'm done with that one. Let's go on to this one right here. That one, I used my green color pencil, which tells me I should be using my Kelly green. So there's my Kelly green color that I have. Be careful again with the lid. For this one, I'm actually going to demonstrate if you accidentally overfill the swimming pool. Okay. Lifting it up, not touching the surface of the plexi. This one isn't coming out as fast, so I got to squeeze a little bit harder. You don't have to feel like you have to rush on this. You can take your time. Okay, so let's say I accidentally go on top of the liquid letting. Like I overfill it, or I bump my hand and it goes on top. This is where your Q-tips can come in handy. So I've just kind of licked it, and I can come over and I can gently wipe up the gallery glass paint and get it off the surface. If I make a lot bigger mess, let's say I spilt over into this area, I can take a baby wipe and carefully wipe it up as well. So it's very easy to wipe up. So don't worry about like panicking that you've messed things up. You actually haven't. And if you accidentally fill in a color with not the right color, you can clean it up with a baby wipe and Q-tips and then go ahead and fill it with the correct color. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to squeeze. I'm going to come back and fill it up, putting in a nice layer of paint. Now the gallery glass, once you fill in a swimming pool, it starts drying. So I think because I did this relatively quickly after I just applied that, will be fine. But don't worry if you have to go over the top again with something that has maybe dried a lot, has had time to dry, it will still work out just fine. You may notice too that air bubbles will come up after you've done an area. If that happens, because it's like right here, I have a little teeny air bubble, instead of using the nozzle of my paint, I'm just going to take a little toothpick and just pop it. Don't feel like you have to pop every single air bubble that pops up. That would be very tedious to have to clean up. But if you can apply the gallery glass paint and be careful about it, your application of it, you shouldn't have too many that you even have to worry too much about. So I'm actually going to maybe transition to something that's maybe a little bit larger and show you how to fill that in. So why don't we go ahead And let's do this area right here. I colored that with blue, the turquoise color, so it means I need to use the blue bird. All right, so let me just start with this little part. You can also use the nozzle if you need to push paint around a little bit. I'm doing the same thing that I did with the smaller areas where I'm following the leading line that creates the shape. It's good to try to get a really nice even coat or even application of your paint, just so when it dries, you get this nice even color. So I went around it, and now I'm going to fill it up. Sometimes for this, I like just to do little sections at a time. Here I'm going back and forth to kind of get out of that tighter space. You can do the same thing right here, just kind of fill it up. Now that I have this larger, I could continue to go back and forth like this, like I did up here and here, or sometimes I just follow the outline again until I get into the little center. And even though this paint is not as thick as liquid leading, but is thicker than maybe like a watercolor, it does spread, but it does stay in place pretty well. You can see some areas that I've kind of missed. I can go back and fill those in. But I'm also letting the paint itself fill in gaps if it's able to. And I'm not going super fast, taking my time so I can get a nice, even application of this paint. And I can come back in these little spots that I've missed. I can just fill them in really quickly. Well, I'm going to continue using my gallery glass to fill in the rest of my shapes here. Once I have completed that, I'm going to carefully lift this up, making sure to keep it flat. I'm going to set it on a table, and I'm going to actually let it dry for 3 days. It needs about 3 days to cure, and also for that paint to dry completely. One thing, though, is really fun to watch is to watch it dry, because you will notice how it is, again, thick and heavy and opaque, and then it dries to a transparent where you can see through it. So I'll be back with the finished piece to show you what it looks like. I can't wait until I see my design hanging in the window with the sunlight coming through. Let's just review a couple things at this point. We know we have black outline, which is a characteristic of stained glass. We also know that larger shapes are broken into smaller shapes, similar to stained glass. We have that happening as well. We also see that we have bright, bold colors, that we're still waiting to see the translucent quality that is characteristic of stained glass as well. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy making your very own faux stained glass Utah bird design. So now go and create. Thank you.